And yeah, the meeting's gonna be recorded. All right. So today, Harvey's here. Wait, we're gonna wait a bit longer. I think people are still coming in. Okay. Sorry for the wait. It seems that last person's joined up and we're ready to go. So today's gonna be actually pretty intense. So yeah, you guys should just pay attention so you don't get left behind. We're gonna be doing two topics today. We're gonna be learning CSS animations, and then after that, we're gonna be creating the hero section of our website. So I'm going to share my screen now, and we're gonna get started. Hope you guys like pull up all of your pull up all of your like editing softwares, the stack puts and whatnot, and then we should be good to go. Okay, yeah. So we have some stuff up, and let me just open here. Last time we left off, I believe our code looked something like this. Yeah, okay. So last time you guys left off, you guys created this homepage thing with the nav bar, right? And then you guys did drop down menus, I believe. And today we're gonna be doing CSS animations. We're just gonna cover we're just gonna be like learning some new material, and then after that we're gonna design the hero section of our page, which is gonna be like going off of our website creation, like part of the thing. So we're just gonna need like your CSS styles.css and index.html today. Okay, I'm gonna start. Okay, today we're learning CSS transforms, transitions, and animation basics. And so what is a transform? To change in form, appearance, structure, metamorphose, and the CSS transform property lets you modify the coordinate space of the CSS visual formatting model. Using it, elements can be translated, rotated, scaled, and skewed according to the value set. So essentially, we're going to be like altering the elements of the web page, right? Using transform, as you know what the word means, I assume, like the transformer. So that is what we're going to be covering today. This is going to be our first section. So transforms is like a general sort of like CSS like uh, rules, like a set of things you can do. So here is like an example of a code you'd see where it's like a transform, and then here we have no transformations, and then here we have one transform function, two transform functions, three transform functions, or four transform and three transform functions. And essentially what this does is like for each transform function you can like specify, it's not gonna like state this is like a placeholder, but it can like specify like what you want to do with the element that you're transforming. And this is gonna appear in like one of your CSS class things. So like it's gonna be in one of these, right? Um, so here are a couple transform functions that we're going to be going over today, which are rotate, scale, skew, translate, and matrix. Right off the bat, you can probably tell like what some of them will do, like rotate. Obviously, you can like rotate an element. Scale is like a ratio. You make something larger or smaller. Skew, that's a little bit more confusing, but I'm sure we'll get used to it. And then translate, if you guys have taken like algebra, then you know like the translation along a graph is like moving something up and down without changing it, right? So that's what translate is. And matrix, that's a bit more complicated. So we're gonna start. So rotate. So essentially what it says, it's just gonna rotate an element clockwise from its current position. And then counterclockwise rotations can be achieved using pretty straightforward. And the syntax will look like this. So imagine this in like a CSS class, and we have transform rotate angle. An angle is expressed by 5 degrees or negative 5 degrees. So like how we use our CSS to define how large something is kind of the same thing. Instead of using pixels, we now have this degree unit, which is exactly what it is. So 9 degrees would be a right angle on your web page. I hope feel free to like ask questions, or like private message me if you are like lost or you want something re-explained, or if I'm going too fast or and all that. So here are some examples. So we have div class box. So now's the time you guys should be like following along or something. So in your homepage, we should create like wait, why isn't this? Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Well, so just go to your home page and we're gonna create a, oh, okay. So we're gonna be working in the main portion of the homepage. So like right under your nav bar, you should just have some general space that you can use. And let's just ignore this for now. And we can start by just creating a um we can start by creating a div. I hope you guys remember what a div is. And we can label it main container, right? Where we're gonna put our I'm busy right now. Sorry, that was my brother. I'm working in the living room. So we can create a main container and then we can put in the stuff we want there, which is the main container is just gonna have like the entire like main part of the web page. And inside this main container, we're gonna create another div, which is gonna be the element we're gonna be working with, which is we're gonna name box. And as you can see, I already have this CSS for the box right here, but you guys probably don't, so it's not gonna show anything. So you're gonna create this div, and you're gonna have a box, right? So now what you want to do is you want to make a box out of the box. So you go to CSS and you can type in this code. So you're gonna want to go dot box margin 200 pixels, width 200 pixels, and height 200 pixels. And here's the code. So it's just I'm gonna copy and paste it into chat. So it's just like create a main container in your main section of your web page, and then also put a box there, which we're gonna be playing around with. And then once you're done with that, you could use the CSS code to create the box that we're going to be using for today. So it should look like this. Margin 200, width 200, height 200. Yeah, and then you can change the color to whatever you want. And inside this box, Dave, we can just put a piece of text that says, and we can make it box text to see what like the transformations do to the text. Because it's pretty interesting. So just use the p tag and then class equals to box underscore text. And we input box. And now you should have something like this on your web page. Can I get like a indicator that we're all fine? This is what we're going to be using for the translations or the transitions that we're going to be learning today. Can anyone tell me if they're there, like at this part? Because we need to be here. Yeah, yeah. So if you don't see a box, you need a. If you guys remember what divs are, they're basically like boxes in themselves, but like they were like the things with like wait div margin chart thing. Uh, yeah. So this is a div. I remember teaching this lesson last time, where we essentially learned like it's like a container for stuff, and what we're doing here is we're creating a div and like making it into a box as representation of div. So you're gonna need this CSS this code in your CSS file, the one I copy and pasted, and then you're gonna need to create a div class corresponding to that, like um, assigned to that class that defines the box. And then you should have whatever this is. So I'm not gonna move on until you guys like tell me that you're good. You guys can like react with a thumbs up if you're like at where I am. If we're confused about some things, you can like ask me to go over them again. Because I don't know, I haven't taught in like a month, 3 weeks. So I don't know like where your guys' skill levels are at. I'm just going off what was told to me. Oh well, if no one objects, I'm going to keep teaching. I hope we're all here with this box. So now we're going to look at the ways we can transform it, right? So, so we have a class box, and then we can also, well, this is creating one. So now we can try rotating it. So we can add this code into our .box CSS class, and we could go, okay, transform, rotate, and then you can put an angle like 45 degrees, well, 45 DEG. And it should look like this. And look, my box has rotated 45 degrees. If you guys have learned geometry, 45 is half a right angle. That looks like 45 degrees to me. That's pretty cool, right? And as you can see, the element inside the box has like the text of box is also rotated with the entire div, which is means the entire div is being turned. That's pretty cool. So you can play around with that. You can do anything you want with that, and then yeah, you can turn it upside down. So that's pretty straightforward. You go next one, scale. Scale relative to its original size. A value specified within scale transformations and are unitless and should be thought of as a multiplier. So here we could also add a scale to our transform. So the shorthand is like we could just like keep adding to the current transform line that we have. We just put scale, don't add a comma, and then just have new values. So we can go 2, 2, and I don't know if you could tell, but the box got 2 times bigger, and it's still upside down. Or you could just have a new transform line. And essentially what scale looks like, the syntax of scale is it'll multiply, uh, it'll scale it'll scale whatever element you're going on by the value inside. And if you want it to go along the x and y axis, you need 2 values, but there's also scale x and scale y, which will just do y or x, which means your div will be like stretched or like stretched vertically or horizontally. So the values of scale are just like multipliers essentially, so they don't really have a unit. And obviously, if you go into decimals, you will be dividing it by 2 because 1/2, right? So here we have 0.5, 0.5. If we have 1, 1, it'll just stay the same. So something interesting you'll notice, I'm gonna get rid of the rotate now. We can do this transform. I think it's easier to read. Oh what? Oh wait, never mind. I didn't know that didn't work. Scratch that. Scale 1, 1. So you only have one transform. Oh yeah, that makes sense. You only have one transform property. Um, Something funny that you'll notice is like when you scale it, the text inside the div will also become stretched, which kind of gives you a better understanding of like how this works, right? It'll take the entire thing essentially. Okay. So next we're doing scale, and here we have what I just said. You can shrink or enlarge it. So it's a skew. Skew will be skewing an element along the x or y axis by an angle value. And here's the syntax. Let you guys look at that for a second. Sorry if I'm going too fast. So usually you just want to skew on the x or the y axis. You don't want to do both because then that just looks kind of insane. I'm going to get rid of my scale for now and my rotate. We're going to add skew and we're going to go 45 degrees. And this is along the x-axis. As you can see, the box has like kind of stretched out-ish to the right, 45 degrees. But it still seems to be centered. And then you can go even longer. Oh yeah, 9 degrees just like gets rid of it. My bad. 75 degrees. So the angle of the degree, it corresponds to like how much it skews. So as you can see here, this angle is like 45. And then you can change that around. And you can do both X and Y, which looks crazy. Yep. And then there's also the two individual ones where you could just go skew X and skew Y. My bad. So all of this is for like when you want to animate, because we're going to be getting into that later. But right now it's mostly static, although like the rotate and the scale function for transforms are also probably kind of useful as well. But that's it for now. And then here are two examples. Finally, translate is pretty important. So you can move an element vertically or horizontally relative to its current position, split its snip values, move the value to the right, and then it will move down on the y-axis for a positive value. So you can think of it as like a grid, but the grid is upside down, like in algebra. So like that's how most coding languages will be working, where if you ever have like a grid sort of idea in your code, it's always gonna look like this along your x and y axis, where y is like going down and x is the same. So this will be like +1, +2, +3, and then this will be like +1, +2. So it's different from like what you probably learned in math. It's not too confusing, but it does like it does mess up a lot of people when they first start coding. So use a syntax for translate. It's same thing, transform x value, y value, translate x, translate y. And here are some examples where we can move it 3 units down and to the right with this one. This is just the normal. This is the wrap, so this shows you like the general area that it's in. And then here we just watch the box move. So here's a question: why would you use left translate when you can use more established CSS standards for layout and formatting? Like we could just use padding to move something to the right, or like use padding on the top of an element to move it down, right? So why would we use it? Why use this translate function? You can think of this translate function as a more efficient way to move placement in transition or animation, which is what we're building up to right now with the transform, with what we're learning. So it's basically like a tool you can use for the animation part, because if you're moving the margins or the padding in an animation, that'll definitely create some wonky things. So that's what the translate is for. And then transform origin. So Essentially, what you've seen from now has just been like it transforming along an origin because uh, an origin is like the point of which the transform will take place. So like in math, you guys should know that the origin is 0, 0, right? And when you're transforming something, it will always be like relative to 0, 0. Okay, that didn't really make sense, but you'll get it. Wait. So CSS property that defines the point from which a CSS transform is aligned to an element. By default, transform origin is set to center of the element 50%, 50%. Like when we rotated that box earlier, like let's get rid of the skew. When we do a rotate and we do 90, like 45 degrees, it'll be rotated along the center of the box. So the box will be rotating around the center of itself, which means it kind of stays in the same place. But there are some cases where you want to change the transform origin, and this is how you do it. So you just do transform origin, and then you can do x offset and y offset. So x offset is the length of the percentage of the left edge of the element's box, and the y offset is the length of percentage from the top edge of the element's box. So essentially, you're giving it a coordinate from the element for which you want the origin to be, and you can think of the origin as just a single point that like is attached to the box. So like imagine you're like on Google Slides and you have just like a box element, and then you use your mouse and you click on that box element and you hold it and you uh move it. You can think of your mouse as being like the origin, and that's where you're like holding the element, right? So if you're holding something, if you're holding your phone on the very corner and you rotated it, it wouldn't like rotate at the center, it would rotate around your hand. It would rotate on the corner, right? And that just creates many different things that you can use it with. So here's how you set the origin, and here's some accepted keywords where you go left, center, right, top, bottom. So left is just going to be complete to the left, center is going to be 50%, right is going to be completely to the right for the X origin, and then top, bottom. I'm sure you guys understand that. And then I think you guys know what keywords are, so I'm not going to go too deep into that. So here's what it will look like. So if we make the transform origin 100%, 0%, this is X and this is Y. So that would mean 100% of X, which means it would be in the rightmost part of the element, and then 0% for Y, which would mean it would stay at the top. So you would watch the box rotate around the top right corner. So as you can see here, there's a little visual of that. It's rotating around the corner. And then here we have right and bottom, which is right is going to be complete to the right and bottom. So you're going to have bottom right, and it rotates negative 25 degrees along that. So we can try doing that right now. Right now I have it rotating around the center with the 45-degree thing, but if we origin and we set it to like 0, 0, we can see that the box is no longer centered around the page. And when we change the 45-degree angle, you'll see something much different. So we can go 15. As you can see here, it's like rotating around the top left corner, and it looks like it's kind of like dangling. That's pretty cool, I guess. And yeah, so okay, I need to speed up. So transform drive support, you guys don't really need to know too much about this. We're just gonna continue. So what is a transition? So now we're moving on to the second part, which is we're gonna be using these transforms to create transitions. Two very different things, but they start with the same 5 letters. I mean, but you can just use the definition of the word to give you an idea of what it is. So transition is going to be a movement, passage, or change from one position, state, stage, subject, concept to another. So basically just changing. And the transition property in CSS is a shorthand property used to represent up to 4 transition-related longhand properties that allow elements to change the values over a specific duration, animating the property changes rather than having them occur immediately. So this is where it gets fun. We're doing animation basically. And you'll see how it could be extremely useful later on. But And transition and like animation is really important. Like once we get into like JavaScript, where we can like set more specific triggers for each action. So essentially, a transition is going to be like a change between two states. And here are the 4 transition properties. We're going to go over each of these one by one, so you guys don't have to worry too much about like what they mean for now, but they're pretty self-explanatory. So I'll just give a brief overview now. Transition property is going to be essentially stating that the property of the element would change, and what the property would mean is like it's completely detached from the transition. It'll just be like the property, like the color of the elements, what shape of the element, the size of the element, um, like all the properties that you see on CSS that you can put, like the color, etc. All of that is going to be a part of transition property. And transition duration is going to say how long will it take for this animation to occur. So like if we want to move a box from like the left side of the screen to the right side of the screen, does it occur in like 1 second, it just speeds across, or does it take 10 seconds and it slowly moves across the screen, right? And then the timing function is something also to do with timing, but it essentially states how the transition will happen, like how the timing will be spaced. So this one will have some specific values that would be hard to understand right now if I try to explain to you, but you'll see. So like just an example, there's like an ease value for transition timing function, which will be like it will start off fast, but then move slow. Like the transition will start quickly and then move slowly, or alternatively, it would start slowly and then move quickly, like something accelerating or decelerating. And the duration will always be the same as well. And then transition delay is like how much time it takes for the transition to happen before how much time it takes for a transition to start after it's triggered. So like you can delay the transition, like, okay, you click this button, but it takes like 3 seconds to start actually performing the animation, right? And that is basically it. So we're going to start with the transition syntax. So here are the 4 things that we listed: property, duration, timing function, and delay. Use a shorthand. We can identify them all in one line, or we could do the longhand by identifying them individually with their individual calls, which is like transition property and transition duration. You guys can look at that for a second. And transition property specifies which property or properties will be impacted by the transition. So essentially, you're stating like what is going to be a part of this transition, right? And then so syntax looks like this, and then basically anything will be anything is accepted. Any properties of the div of the class are going to be accepted as something that you can change through the transition, right? So yeah, wait, let's just go to examples. So here's an example of what you're going to see. So here we have dot box, and then we're stating the transition properties, which means like, okay, these are things that are going to be changing through my transition, right? And it's going to say dot box transition property is going to be color, background color, and width. So the color, the background color, and the width are going to be changing in my transition. And then we also have to define these ones as the initial state. And then that's the starting state, initial state, same thing. And the active state is like the final state, or what you want to see, which is going to be what you want to see when it is triggered. So here are triggers of the hover. I'm sure you guys learned, because you guys learned drop downs, right? So you know how a hover works. Essentially, when your mouth goes over this element, when your not mouth, when your mouse goes over the element, something will happen, right? Like the element will be visible. So you guys kind of already did something like this. I don't know what you guys used for the drop down, but maybe it's close to this hover. So let's try it out. So let's reset our box back to what it was. And then do box hover. And so now we have to state what we want the box to look like when your mouse goes over it. But before that, we need to state the transition properties, which is like what we want to change when it is hovering over. So we can go Color, well, we can do background, and then we can also do, why is it, uh, background and, let's say border width. Let's see here. Oh, it's just width. Huh. Oh, I think I know why. It's because background can like be associated with multiple multiple values because of the shorthand, right? So when you do background color, because sometimes it can only accept like one, it will only accept one value for the transition property. So in theory, this should work. Let's make the border 10 pixels. See if that works. Color. Um, okay, let's just change the width. So we'll change the background color and the width of the box. And then on box.hover, we can do what he does here, where we just like state new new background color. And we can change it to like an aqua. And then we can change the width to be let's make it larger, 400 pixels. But now when we hover over here, as you can see, the box will turn aqua and the width does not change because I don't know how to code. Wait, right now it works because I put a space between 400 and pixels. So from here we can see the box when you hover over it will elongate and turn a different color, but it does it instantly, and that's not cool. So let's go to the next one, which is going to be duration. Um, Transition duration property specifies the amount of time transition will take. Okay, I'll paste the current code. So this is what I use for the box right now, and that's what's achieving this, where it moves to the right, it goes off screen. So okay, that's better. You can watch it get larger. So so now we want to make it like slower, right? This is like instant. It doesn't even look like an animation. It just kind of changes when you hover over it. So we want to specify the amount of time transition will take, and that will be used with transition duration. So most of the action will occur in transition property, and then the rest of like the transition elements will just show you like, will just tell you like how the transition happens. So we can go duration and we can set it to 5 seconds, right? I don't know if that's how you do it. Wait. Time in seconds, multiple time values, initial and inherent. So here's the syntax, and then we add it to 2s and it'll change. Okay, I'm gonna make this a little smaller and we're gonna just focus on making like a loading box today. So like imagine you're like in a video game or like not a video game, like website's loading. And this is the animation that like will be shown. So here we watch as, that was pretty cool, wasn't it? Once I hover over this box, in 5 seconds, it will elongate and then also turn aqua slowly, not instantly. And if we go off of it, it will go back. So we watch as it goes longer and then becomes a different color. As you can see, even though I'm hovering on this side, I'm still on the div, which means the animation won't change. And then once it goes away, it will not be hovering anymore, which is pretty cool. So HTML is pretty like powerful in that way, very dynamic. We can like click it multiple times. Yeah. So I want to make this a little longer too. Let me get 500 pixels. Yeah, it turns a cool color. Oop, red. That's nice. So now let's look at the next properties. You can get even more fancy with this with the next things that you'll see. So it'll specify the pace at which the next one is going to be the transition timing property, which is like similar to duration, but also it just shows how the animation will take place. So specify the pace at which the transition will arrive. So transition timing function value and accepted values will be like ease, linear, ease in, ease out, ease in, out. Step start. You honestly don't need to know what all of these are, but let's just do ease and see how that looks. Timing function ease. So as we watch it, it should. We watch the start is like relatively faster than the end, and at the end it like slowly goes in. Do you guys see that? I feel like it's not very easy. Wait, to see. Wait, if we increase the time, it'll probably look better. See how the end is very slow? The start's also kind of slow, but that's basically what the timing function does. And there's many different like values you can put in here. So linear, I'm assuming that would just mean like a smooth, like constant velocity for the thing, constant speed. And you can have like all these, which I honestly don't know what they do, but you can play around these. What does curve do? That actually, wait, let's see if we can find something funny. Cubic, what does that mean? Sure, I can't tell the difference. See, there's a lot of fancy stuff you can do, but honestly, I'm not a pro, so like, you guys can do more research if you want. And there's a little thing at that bottom. Wait, our transition property plus duration plus timing. So here's an example of what it would look like. We already have something like this where um we have like 4 seconds, change the background color, change the width, and then easing in. So easing in will be like the start is slow, and then after that it goes fast, as you can see here. So the start is pretty slow and then it speeds up. And it still takes exactly 2 seconds. And then yeah, so let's go to the last one, which is delay. Delay is very simple, specifies when the transition will start relative to when the property value changes. So essentially it's like a delay, exactly what it says. So if we add a delay here, let's do like 5 seconds to make it really obvious. I'm hovering over it, and then I'm hovering at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go. Okay, apparently I count very fast because the computer that's like a solid 2 moments off, but it waits 5 seconds, and if I'm still hovering over it, it'll go. And once I'm hovering off, it also takes 5 seconds, and it'll shrink back. So we can do something like 2 seconds, maybe that'll be better. Hover, 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 and then it goes. And that's it. So there's a lot of stuff you can do with that, especially with like the rotation stuff. So yeah, let's just take a look at that. So we can do transform. I can't spell transform. Rotate 25 degrees. See if this works. Hmm. Okay, this seems to be okay. I can get rid of the delay, but wow, look at that. We put transform into transition property, and now our box rotates 25 degrees when we hover over it. Maybe we could do something fun, like we just have it spin forever. 720 degrees. That should be two 360s. Wee. It's like it's like a game. It's a struggle to even like keep your mouse on here. Oh God. And if you go off, it will stop the animation. So you see how powerful this is, right? You can imagine like, okay, now if you have like a trigger that has like WASD, I'm sure you guys play games, like W will move your little block forward 1 pixel. If you hold it down, it'll keep going up. If it keeps going, it'll get faster. You see how powerful that is, right? Once we start learning JavaScript, where we'll be able to control these like more complex things, you guys could combine like the animation you used and like the CSS stuff with your JavaScript skills, and you could literally create a website game. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff you can do here. I mean, that's pretty cool, I think. Um, we could also make it like skew. We just go crazy if we wanted to, but also we don't have enough time. So you know, so what is going on? Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of strange. Can you? Yep. Uh, so that'll be it. For transitions, and now I'm gonna move on to the second part, which is gonna be really quick. So final question, our final slides are gonna be like, what is animation? When we animate something, the values of the CSS properties over time are use keyframes. So you're gonna learn what keyframes. Well, if you've like done any animation classes before, you probably know what keyframes are. And they can be controlled by specifying their duration, number of repeats, and repeating behavior. And we could also like make it repeat. Oh, crud. I could teach you guys that. So we can do animation iteration count, which will just make it go infinitely. Um, Anyways, this is gonna take a long time. Is today the last class? I don't believe so. We're not gonna get into animation today. There's some stuff there where you can like make it repeat or like spin forever. Do we have to use this on our website? No. But um it's pretty uh I recommend using it because it provides not in like such an extreme way, but in ways that you can see like how it would work. So like if you're hovering over like a button, instead of it like turning aqua immediately, it'll like slowly come in, right? With a duration or whatever. And then for like your homepage, imagine you had a piece of text and it was like hovering, right? That'd be pretty cool, right? So you have like a piece of text that's like hovering or like maybe slowly changing colors through the rainbow, like RGB. Like you could definitely do something like that, right? So yeah, 4-20. That's prom. Uh and yeah. So if you guys got through this, I'm gonna have to speed through the next section, but I don't think it'll be too challenging. This is like the meat of today's lesson. I'm gonna go into the next section. I don't know what I'm doing. Next section is gonna be the hero page. Or the hero section of your front page. And I'm just gonna go through this like a lecture. Wait, how do I present? Oh yeah. So, who you going to prom with? I don't know. Here's section, here's landing. Here's section. The hero section of your page is going to be like the meat of your main page. So you will have here's some explanation of what it is. The hero page is the landing page. It's the first place that the user sees when you're entering your website. I'm not going to prom with anyone, unfortunately. It's very sad. The hero page is the landing page, and it's the first place that you see when the user enters the website. This is going to be your home, essentially. And here's some examples of what we're going to be designing or like what we're going to be seeing. So it's going to be like this, it's always going to be like this sort of theme with like a image and like large text and then maybe like a button under and like a catchphrase like, oh, cleaning water and healthy beaches. So this is like the second step. We already have this nav bar, which is at the top of your website, right? That's going to be the start of like, that's going to be on every page, but your homepage needs like this sort of general thing that every homepage has. So here's some more examples. I'm a hero. It's called a hero page because it's where you land. And then in case I didn't emphasize that enough. And once again, you see the start nav bar, cool design. You got those little lines in between. You guys could do that. It's all up to you. It's always good to look at like professional designs and then, plagiarize. I mean, like get inspiration. And then you have like some text, like a description of your website, a hero widget's full browser hide section with some featured content, call to action, add a custom background color image video to the hero widget. So this is like an explanation of what the hero landing part section is. And you have like two buttons like see more or like donate or something. And here's another one. So here's the Glide website. The nav bar's up here. It looks a bit weird, but it's actually pretty cool. This is like a video. So I took a picture of it, but it's like displaying a video right now. And like that'll be like the start. And then here we have create business software you actually want, all that good stuff. And here's a more simple example. This is going to be like something close that we're creating, something close to what we're creating, which is just text and an image next to it. Nothing too fancy, right? But you have a nice button. It looks simple. It looks pleasing. That's what we want. Oh my gosh. What is this image quality? What the? Okay. So, the hero section code is going to be pretty simple. So for now, we could just get rid of the box. We can keep the animation code if you want to do it later, but if we get rid of we have to get rid of the div to work on the hero section, right? So we want a hero section. We're gonna have two main divs, which is just gonna be like the text and the image next to it, right? So main component. Yo, I have to speed. We're gonna be running over time. 4 minutes is enough, right? So let's have a header that says like um the era of today is the era of tomorrow, like something inspirational that actually makes sense. And then we have another header, which is gonna be like, oh shoot, H2. And then we can have it like continue, right? Is the dude, this is amazing. So we have this, and then obviously right now it's not formatted, but we can make the format look cooler when we decide to in our CSS file. Right now we're just giving a basic layout, right? And then here we can have see what makes us different and then a button. So let's just go P P, see what makes us different. And after that, we can have like a button. So maybe this will work. I don't know. Think, right? Obviously it does not look like a button right now. But we can go here and set this to hero. button. And yeah, so there's no styling to this right now, but you get the main idea, right? What this will look like in the future if you were to add like styling to it. It would look something like this. And then after that, it would look something like this, right? And then after that, we could add an image in this div. If you guys remember how this works is like when you have an overarching div and you have two divs inside, this could be one on the left, one on the right. Most of the time. If you don't mess up. It was like the most basic website. So we have another one, and then we can do class is equal to hero image, right? And then we could do image src is equal to something. And then yeah, I think we can just end it like that. We should probably, oh, there he is, class. Okay. So finally, here's some things that you can use for website images. So a lot of them, most of them are like there are some paid parts and there's like some free parts, you know, like where like they give you like the you have to pay to get like the cool images, but they give you some like freebies. So let's go on Unsplash. We can find some cool images to put on our website. So like this one's watermarked, but this one isn't. You can put whatever you want here. You can just choose something cool. Copy image link. Will this work? No, I forgot. Okay, so now I have an image here, right? And then yeah, if we move this along. This is generally what your hero can look like, but we don't have time. It is 3 p.m. I think we'll I don't know. I think we'll
Um,
continue this next time for the next session. I don't know. What's the plan, John?
yeah, I believe what said here is correct. We're probably gonna do something where we're gonna continue like teaching and kind of developing on Ethan's like initial idea of the hero section. Because we don't, of course, because like this today's lesson was pretty hard, right? It was like a lot to get through, so of course we didn't have time. So I'm pretty sure that we'll be able to work on it next week more. But yeah, I think that is pretty good for today, right, Ethan?
Yeah.
All right, sounds good. Thank you guys so much for coming. But real quick, if let's see, 1 second. I believe I was gonna make an announcement. If it's possible, can Edwin and Davis stay behind real quick? I just want to go over some stuff with them, but then everyone like it's like 5 minutes. Sorry for you're busy or anything, but everyone else, it's great to have you. And also just as like a quick informational thing, if you want to come, we have a speaker event today at 7 p.m. where we're gonna be talking to a lot of industry professionals, such as like someone who has designed websites for like over probably like 10 or 5 years, and they have some really cool websites, and I think it'll be like a really fun experience overall. And I'm just gonna send you guys the see if I can copy the link maybe. There's like a let's see. Uh let's see, how can I send this link? I have a poster, but let me see. Okay, that doesn't work. Okay, give me 1 second. I'm just gonna pull the link real quick. Put this link. It's a bit.ly link. There we go. All right. I'll send you guys the Zoom link if you're interested at 7 p.m. Okay.